welcome back to another episode of the Hourglass Podcast. You're joining Tim and Kareen, and we're going to talk about all things bikini, especially it's a bonus episode today, so especially goal setting coming into 2025. And, there's a lot of stuff going around now. I see a lot of content around, how to set good goals and how to achieve these goals and like the SMART goal strategy and all these different strategies to coming up with goals. But we don't really want to do that today. We want to kind of just talk about our goals, maybe be a little bit or give a little bit of inspiration for the types of things that you can set as goals. Because I think sometimes like the hardest exercise is actually to think about what you want to achieve, right, Kareen? Like,
yeah,
a lot of people know what they don't want to do, but not everyone knows what they want. And so, it's taken me, I'm 33 and it's taken me till 33 to know what I want. So, I've always known what I wanted in certain areas of my life, but not in all areas. And I think that like when you find those things, I don't think that you need someone on Instagram or YouTube to tell you how to focus on it. I think it's pretty straightforward once you know. So I think it's crucial more than ever in so much distraction, to spend the time figuring out what you actually want rather than, seeing all these people that are like, yeah, this year I'm going to buy a car and, I'm going to go on like this holiday around the world and I'm going to do all this cool stuff. I'm going to have a kid and I'm going to do all this crazy, cool, materialistic stuff. That can sometimes pressure you into thinking, oh, my goals are just to be happy. And why don't I want to be, do all this crazy, cool stuff, what seems to be cool. So yeah, we just want to kind of touch on that today. A bit of a bonus episode, and hopefully it's not 4 hours long for you guys.
We'll try. We always try and fail.
I think more on that. Do you want to touch more on that? Do you struggle? Like you're 22, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So as a 22-year-old, right? When I was 22, I had no clue what the hell I wanted to do. No idea. I knew I was good at stuff, and I knew when I woke up in the morning, I wanted to get bigger. I wanted to be muscle. I wanted to be muscle. I wanted to have more muscle.
One muscle.
I wanted to be a bicep when I grew up. No,
Same.
But it's very easy when you're younger. Like you wake up in the morning and the first thing you think about is generally what you do, other than going to work if you have a job, whatever. It's very easy to sort of just live your life based on this impulse of like what you want at the time. Do you struggle with that? Do you know what you want, or are you just kind of like I said, like you know some things but you don't know other things? Like where are you at with that? I'm interested to know because I don't know entirely. I know that you want to. I know what you want when it comes to bikini, and we can talk a bit more about that. But maybe some advice for anyone else, young, old, whatever. But coming from a young athlete who from anyone else looking from the outside in seems to know exactly what she wants to achieve. Is that true? Or do you struggle with it?
I'd love to be an open book about this because it was something that I really did struggle with when I was a little bit younger. Because I think, going through high school, obviously coming from an ethnic background with immigrant parents who are very much like, okay, like you're going to grow up, you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, an engineer. Like it's probably all of your options, So being in that environment and putting that pressure on myself, I literally remember like so many times when I was like in high school, coming towards like graduating from high school, I would literally like be having breakdowns on the kitchen floor. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I feel like I'm not interested in anything. I feel like I don't feel like I'm good at anything. Like, that's the thing, because in my head, like, being good at something would mean that you were like really smart or you had something to show for it, like in terms of your knowledge or things like that. So I ended up, I was like, what am I good at? And I was looking at all my subjects in school and I did like this media subject, right? So I was like, okay, I'll just go to uni for like film and TV. So I did that for a year. didn't love it. Like, it was a lot different to what I expected. And then I ended up transferring into business and things like that. It was just, it's all very wish-washy, right? So I didn't have a goal in the sense of what I wanted to be at that time. But what I did do was I did something that I loved for the fun of it, really. I started makeup, and that the goal for that wasn't a goal. Like, there was no goal behind that. I was like, I just love this. Like, I'm having a good time. Like, this is my little side hustle. I can be creative. I can have fun with it. There was no goal behind that at all. But what I found through that was you actually don't have to be, crazy book smart to be successful. Right. I think this is something we were just talking about before, how like a lot of people, like people who can communicate really well or have like different skill sets, they tend to be people who have the leeway to be very successful. Right. Because they just have a different skill set. So that kind of bred the idea that if I was doing something that I really enjoyed and I became a student and I invested in educating myself, learning, becoming a master of it, and then have the ability to share that with other people, that was where I could get my success from, right? And in that sense, I could say that I'm successful or I feel successful. So that kind of like lent into all the other avenues of my life where I'm like, you know what, I really love this. I'm going to get into it, learn about it and then progress from there. And yeah, from there, like that's where I shifted in the sense that like my goals went from very like stagnant, like very maybe milestone focused or number focused or things like that, where it was more like that more fluid progression and making sure that I'm having fun and making sure that I'm actually doing things for the right reasons, So yeah, it wasn't all like I knew what I wanted and I was a go-getter and I went and got it. Like I'm very much like that now, but because I've done the inner work. Yeah, I've done the inner work to make my own opinions and viewpoints for what I deem successful of myself.
It's interesting what you said before about not needing to be intelligent to be successful, because I think a lot of people are frustrated by that nowadays. It's very easy to be successful. Like, if you have a process that works, then you're going to piss off a lot of people because you don't even need to know what you're doing. You just follow this process, you repeat it over and over, and you hustle and you work hard and you have a work ethic, and you can do that and make a lot of money and be very successful if that's what you want to do without really understanding what you're doing. And it pisses a lot of people off. But the thing that's important about that is if you are someone that gets pissed off by that, then you've got to learn how to communicate better. And that's something that, as someone who I am overly obsessed with the details and things like that, and sometimes in the past, I'm definitely a lot better now. And that's one of my goals for 2025 is to learn to communicate more efficiently. I feel like I'm a good communicator, but I feel like I could be better. And it would make what I do know and what I've spent years learning and understanding so much easier for people to understand, because I'm then more effective at delivering that information. So you're only as good as what you can communicate. That's essentially, so what you said before is really, really true. And I didn't learn the importance of it until I kind of went through the process of it as well, working in my own business and then, seeing other people succeed doing the same thing with like half the experience, Obviously it's very different when it comes to comp prep, but like in the fitness industry in general, some people have really no understanding of the science behind anything, but they're still able to get amazing results because it's just a process that they follow. They're great at communicating and they're great at delivering this to people on a mass scale. And that's what makes a lot of money. People get results, people are happy. So that's one of my goals, to learn how to communicate better. And so I may be taking acting classes. I'm not sure about that yet.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Can
we
we'll
get
see
like
a
1%'s performance or something?
Can we get looking into it at the moment. It may be like speech coaching or like, you know what I mean? I don't know what avenue it's going to be, but it's going to be one of those, because learning how to, step outside of yourself and who you are and deliver something in a way that's you've got to, like, from the research I've done, you've got to be able to say it from a place of, like, you're not saying it from anything that you had in your personal experience. Like, you've got to become a character that's in a position of authority, but you've also got to be able to, remove any of your own problems in that sense, so that when you deliver it, it's not biased. Because sometimes your tone or your energy or anything that you're saying is biased by something that you've had or experienced. And so that's part of acting, is like, you're communicating something to the audience in a way that has nothing to do with who you are, but you're doing it in a way that then they're receiving it how you want them to receive it. And that's a skill. And you don't have to be an actor to be good at that. And so I think, like, that's very useful in what I do,
That's really cool. That's a great goal. That's awesome.
That's a goal for me this year. It's not really financial or anything, but it may impact that benefit, like, in a beneficial way long term. But
it's
I think
a life skill. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. And it helps in, like, the better you communicate in relationships and, like, in the workplace or anything like that, people will, I think it's going to polarize a lot easier. Like, people will either like you or hate you a lot easier. And it's, where you stand, because you're able to communicate clearly what you're trying to do. But like I said, I mean, you can't get to 33 without communicating well, but I think you can always be better. And I think that, that could help me in a lot of situations. And it's just about self-improvement, What's something that you're, outside of bodybuilding, what's something that you're trying to work on?
I'm working on. I think this year for me is going to be my year to really knuckle down on, like, the vision that I have for myself. I am wanting to branch out a lot in the sense of, like, the different avenues that I do. And I feel like at the moment, my struggle is that I feel good at things, but I don't feel like I am the complete, like, master all in at these things, right? Like, I feel like I've spread myself out a little bit, and I really want to get back to focusing on just, like, really honing in on particular areas and growing that. So I think this year it's more so, like, I'm not so much focusing on, like, saving or anything like that. I've never been, just for myself personally, I know that these years are not like my saving years. These are more like my investing years. So I've put a lot of, assets into investing and growing, like, whether that's, like, business, seeking advice, or, like, branching out portfolio wise, like, just really trying to set myself up. Because, like, these are the years, realistically, I'm never going to be as unresponsible for things,
Yeah.
Like, as I grow, I'm going to have to collect more and more responsibilities. So right now I want to use that as much as I can. Any spare time that I happen to have, I need to use it.
And that, honestly, like, if I could give my younger self more advice, it would be everything you earn, invest in yourself. Like, whether it's what you own, like assets, or what you know. And, like, that's something I've doubled down on in the last 2 years. Like, I never used to do it as much as I do now. And, like, putting everything I have, like, into things that are going to help me in the future, from business to marketing to, like, learning new stuff. Like, if there's a book I want to buy, just do it. Like, textbooks, sometimes they're hundreds of dollars, and you just buy it because you want to learn something new. Whereas in the past, I'd be like, I can just Google that and whatever. So you're just sort of, like, not taking any shortcuts with this investment idea. And it does pay off, man. Like, I wish I did that from 21, 22, right? So it's great to hear that you're doing that, because you can't lose. It's like any investment that you make, you want to know the company, you want to know what their project is, what their goals are. You want to be that's what investing is. You want to be confident that the way they're heading and who's running that is aligned with something that you agree with. Like, it's a good idea, and it's also got great potential. And so if you think about yourself in the same way, like, okay, who am I? What am I trying to achieve? How do I behave on a daily basis? Is all of this stuff contributing to a successful story? then you just take that scenario and you double down and you invest more money into that person who is you. It's just going to grow, you know?
Yeah.
So you got to see yourself as your own portfolio, and anything you need, anything you like, where you live, your environment, your room, your car, your gym membership, all these things that require investing money into it. Your coach, for example, people that mentor you, that you learn from, is all sort of, imagine like your company is you and you go live in public and you have people investing in you as a person. That's what you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really cool. Like if anyone's like struggling with like what to do this year, it's like everything you earn, invest in yourself straight away.
Yeah.
Just chuck it in, you know?
I know.
Because that means what that means then is that you have heavy conviction on your own abilities. And if you do have that doubt about whether something's worth it, it's either, I've heard someone say this before, it's like, it's either expensive or it's costly, right? Both of them can mean the same thing, but basically costly is it is requiring a lot of resources to do. So it may be money or time, but expensive is when it's not worth those resources. So if something's expensive to you, it means that it's not worth what you're investing into it. But if it's costly, then it is worth what you're investing into it. It just takes a lot to get there. So you think about investing in yourself as a cost rather than an expense, and you will not see these things that are costly as a problem. You'll see them as, it's worth it because now I'm going to get this and this and this.
Yeah.
And I wish I had that mindset when I was 22.
I mean, it's only getting harder, hey? It's only getting... And, like, you gotta learn. You gotta just learn by looking around you, you know? Like, I look at people who are really hardcore saving and, like, you know, have taken a very traditional path in that sense. And I'm like, well, you kind of just... You're capping yourself, you know? Whereas you could probably go so much further had you have looked into... maybe something that was more costly but benefited you more in the long run. So
exactly,
that's my goal. Do you want to give me another one of yours?
That's awesome. Yeah, so it's kind of in line with that. It's I've had in the last sort of 5-10 years, I've had a lot of financial goals like on the side. I've just been like, hey, I've got to make this, I've got to buy this, whatever, and that's been good. It's worked for me. You know, I'm happy with where I'm at. Obviously, I'm not satisfied, but I'm happy. It doesn't sort of rule me anymore. Like I don't sort of dictate my worth on how much I make or, you know, any of these little sort of things. So now I'm more in a position where I'm like, okay, I know it's the same thing. I'm kind of in like a 360, and I know that for me to get any more out of what I'm doing, I need to invest more into myself, but in a spiritual way, like not necessarily education or like these things. Obviously, like I said, I've already got that goal of learning to communicate better, but I know I need to double down on the spiritual side and being connected with myself. And so what I'm going to do is learn transcendental meditation. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's like, it's meditation, but they give you a mantra, and you go do this course, and they teach you how to like say this mantra and like, you know, how it's meant to feel and like the practices and the benefits and all this sort of stuff. And once you learn how to do it, you've learned that for life. It's a skill you have, and you do it twice a day. And my goal is to do it twice a day. Once I learn it at the end of January, I used to do it twice a day for the whole year and just see what happens, because the benefits that what people say is that the benefits are huge. And it really sort of like, apparently like 20 minutes of doing this is like the same as sleeping for a couple of hours, like the relaxation of your body and the mind and things like that. It's really huge for like connecting and being present and just sort of bringing out your creativity and bringing out like your true self, because it's, you know, there's so much distraction and things like that around. It's like, for example, a good example for anyone is if you've ever just had a day where you're not on your phone, you know, you put your phone away, you don't check Instagram, you're just living your life. You're not trying to like post anything for anyone else's validation. You're just going about your day. Whatever you want to do, you do. You know, I don't know if anyone hasn't done this before, but I urge you to do it, because once you do that, you can feel how distracted you are all the time. And you don't need it. You don't need this thing. But if you use it for a beneficial purpose, like if you use it for what it's meant for, it's great. But if you let it rule you, and for what we do, Kareen, like we're always on our phones, and I feel like it's gotten worse and worse and worse. The busier I've gotten over the last couple of years, I've definitely lost touch a little bit. You know, I know who I am. That's not the problem. But I've lost touch with like things, just basic things like, you know, you go hang out with someone and your phone's with you and you're checking your phone, like just little things like that. You're not present in the way that you used to be. And I think that the transcendental meditation will help me with that. Because, you know, when I do have those moments of clarity, like I'll go for a walk and I'll not take my phone and I'll just walk for like an hour. And it takes a while. Like you sort of walk for about 20 minutes and like you just, your mind is just really messy and busy and everything's going on. And then all of a sudden you just get these clear thoughts. You're like, oh, that's right, I got to do this thing. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's right. And then all of a sudden all these thoughts come and like, you start to just be filled with like this sort of inspiration and like this energy. And that doesn't happen if you're constantly checking your phone and like getting this, you know, distraction and like you're talking to people and you're helping people. So for me, for what I do, like I have to constantly show up for my athletes and the other things that I do on a daily basis. I need that like little escape, you know, but it's like it's a really sort of like large dose of it, you know? So yeah, that's my other goal for this year. That's the second goal.
Yeah, right. That's cool. That's a cool one. I feel like these are so different to like what you usually hear. Like 2025, I want to go to Europe.
Nah, I've kind of gone around about like if you asked me 5 years ago, it was a lot of like, you know, I want to go to Dubai, you know, like I want to set my business, like do this stuff. But like now it's really weird. Like I'm in this sort of, you know, yeah, everything's cool, man. You know, like I think it comes from I think it comes from a lot of confidence in the direction I'm headed, and it's taken, you know, after retiring from being a competitive bodybuilder and not really knowing where to go, or like, you know, not being sure of having apprehension. Like there's a lot of things that go, even if your intentions are good, it's a difficult process, you know, and then, you know, relationships and all these things that happen over time, you kind of lose track of where you're actually wanting to go and you just kind of do what's necessary rather than, you know, it's like, you know, you need to clean up the room, but you don't really clean it up in a way that you want it to be clean. You just make it tidy because it has to be tidy. But if you actually stop and think, okay, where do I actually want that in that place, or do I want it over there? And you start to rearrange things, you go, okay, like all of this stuff's relatively in the right spot. I just need to now make it look better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how it feels for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. I think that'll evolve your life in many more ways than like what it seems on a surface level.
Yeah, and that's what I'm excited for, because it's the same thing. I mean, I don't know if anyone that's listening has tried to meditate. Like I've got outrageous ADD, so like I can't sit still. Like I struggle to like sit still and just think. Like that's why I have to go for a walk. And so this regular like guided meditation stuff is difficult for me to do for very long. But where this transcendental stuff seems to be the solution to that, because you have very simple mantra to just repeat in your mind. And it's very clear whether you are doing it or aren't doing it. You know, you either are focusing on this thing that you're saying or you're not. And it makes the guideline very clear. So that's probably the biggest benefit to it.
Have you tried breathwork?
Yeah, like the Wim Hof stuff. Like I do that. It's like stress management stuff. Like I do that often.
Yeah.
And it works for sure, you know?
Yeah. I would have thought that'd be up your alley as well. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, do like the Wim. If anyone wants to try that, just Google Wim Hof breathing, and there's like guided stuff on there on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Very powerful stuff. Very powerful.
Yeah, especially if you're anxious all the time, because you probably don't breathe correctly if you're anxious. And when you start to breathe correctly, it's like, whoa, it's almost like this high. You feel like this rush of energy and the endorphins in your brain. And I did this exercise with this guy when I was actually in Dubai. I learned how to do this properly from this guy who does like ice. He's like a professional ice bather. And yeah, and he uses Wim Hof breathing when he does it, right? And it's like the same exercise that the deep diving people use. They use it when they deep dive, like in water. And you can teach your body to go without oxygen by relaxing and like going through this process. And so the first, like when you do this exercise, like the Wim Hof thing, the first round through, it's kind of hard. But then by the final round, you're actually holding your breath for like almost 2 minutes or something. And you don't even notice it. You don't even really notice that you're holding your breath for that long. It feels really comfortable to do it because your body's full of oxygen. And so that's, you can only get to that place when you're really relaxed.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really powerful. It's really, really interesting. So
Breath
I'm interested
is
to see
so
how that all
powerful.
ties together.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I would love to learn more about that. Just like, I feel like your body is capable of so much and like you haven't even scratched the surface, hey?
Yeah, exactly.
It's very cool.
What else have you got planned for the year?
I think another big one for me this year is giving some more time to myself, which probably sounds a little bit selfish. But you know what? I kind of want to be selfish, just a little bit. I think the busier I've got and the more kind of tasks I've picked up throughout the days, I've kind of probably lost a little bit of that self-care that I owe myself. So I just want to tap into that a little bit more because I know that branches out and affects different parts of my life as well, like how I show up for other people and my stress levels and things like that. So definitely just allocating a little bit more time to just do things that I enjoy that don't have to somehow like affect other parts of my life. Like it doesn't have to be productive. It doesn't have to be like this or that. It can just be literally like maybe spending a little bit more time in the morning, like getting ready and like really feeling put together, putting some makeup on, like going and getting a massage, my nails done, you know, different things like that. That's not so much like a task, but can just put me back in the right headspace.
It's crazy how powerful that stuff is too, because you know, it's just like, it's the same idea as like, okay, if you were to treat someone else a certain way, like if you had a friend and you were constantly lying to the friend and you were constantly like giving them daggy shit to wear and like you never fed them well, or like, you know what I mean? Like you just had this sort of friend that you just like mistreated all the time. They wouldn't be very nice to you. They would just be like, fuck this guy, you know? Like he doesn't treat me well. He's the worst friend ever, but they still hang out with you because they're forced to. They have to.
And they wouldn't trust you.
As the that's the same as the relationship you have with yourself. And so, yeah, I think that's really, really cool because if you can care for yourself to that extent where you're going above and beyond to do little extra things, not from a place of insecurity, just because you're genuinely trying to care for yourself more than you ever have, you're going to be able to achieve way more because you've got this great relationship with yourself where you're like, man, I look after myself. I'll do whatever I want myself to do. Like you kind of talk to yourself like you've got this partnership with someone, but it's just you that you have this partnership with. And then whatever you say you're going to do, you'll most likely do it because you're looking after yourself. It's really cool.
Yeah, you respect yourself a lot more, you know, like I use that friend analogy so much too. Like I'm like, if you're always like breaking promises to that friend and you're like, you always say you're going to do something, you never show up, it's like, they're going to dislike you. They're never going to want to see you. Like, you know, everything that you say, they don't even want to hold you accountable to it because they just know you're going to fail, you know? So it's like the same sort of thing. Like you have to build that trust. You have to build that respect. You have to show up for yourself. Things that you promise, like follow through with it. And yeah, it's like, it's the quickest way to gain confidence, you know, like start thriving in life. And it stems from these little tiny things. I feel like once you get a little hold on these pieces, it just builds up from there.
But you can't do it from a place of insecurity. You can't do it for external validation. You can't go and get your nails done because you want someone to comment on them.
That's right.
That's not the same thing. As much as a nice comment is great, like for someone to go, oh, your hair looks good, that's nice. But like, that's not the reason why you should do it, and it's not going to have the same outcome because you're going to constantly seek people to say that, and it's not going to make you feel good. It's the same as like, it's like only ever doing something for this person because you want them to say thank you, right? That's not care. That's manipulation.
Yeah.
So you don't want to manipulate yourself into feeling good. You want to actually feel good, and so you've got to be very careful where the intention comes from. So you've got to ask yourself, why do I want to do what I'm doing? Wow, I want to feel good. Okay, so I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks, and that gives you the confidence because you're not doing it for someone to go, yeah, look good. Because like, what if they don't like it? You know?
Yeah,
You're gonna feel like shit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it goes into all avenues of life. Yeah, it's a good one.
What about? Okay, we'll finish it off with something. We've spoken pretty deep here. We've had like some sort of spiritual self-care stuff. What's one materialistic thing that you want to do this year?
I don't know. Materialistic.
Like what's the shallowest thing you want to achieve?
I'm gonna be so basic, and I'll say travel, but it's probably not like the reason that most people want to travel, because it's like, I want to go travel and compete. But like on a outsider basic point of view, I want to travel. I want to see the sights. I want to go to Europe. I want to live my hot girl Europe summer.
It's a flex. It's a flex, especially in summer. It's a flex. Sure.
Yeah. What about you?
Like I haven't. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like that sort of stuff. Like, I love the travel. I'll travel this year as well. But I think I've got this picture in my head of this, and this is why we're talking about before vision boards and stuff. Like, I don't actually do that. Like, I have a good visualization and a good imagination, and I've got all of those things really, really clear. Like, I can, if I was to draw, I could draw. Like, it's very clear in my mind, and so. I think a vision board's useful if you can't do that. But for me, it's always like very like I can think about it very easily. And I've got this idea of like the way my ideal living room / lounge room, the way I want it to look, and like it just keeps coming up in my mind. And so I think that is something I need to do this year to like settle into some sort of house / unit somewhere that's built in the way that I want it to be built.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's achievable this year because it may need to be built, but that's something that's just constantly coming into my mind, and so it's very clear too. It's like an open plan with like a nice view. I don't know what the view is of, but it's a nice view, and then the actual lounge room is sunken. So like there's like it's like a depressed couch area, so it's like sunken into the ground.
Yeah,
and it's so like cozy feeling because like the TV's up there, and like you have to like step down into the couch area.
Yeah,
but because it's sunken down, it doesn't obstruct the view from the kitchen, so you can see really easily. And it's just nice, open, and like you can see like I think there's water there, or just something nice. I don't know, but it's the thing that's clear to me, and so I feel like I need to investigate that somehow.
You're like, it's come to me in a vision. I need to follow it through.
Because I don't know if that's possible to do if it's elevated. I think you'd have to do that on the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it may not have a water view, but like, yeah, I mean, the view can still be something nice. Like it could be of a pool, you know, like
some sort of water aspect in there.
Some sort of living arrangement where that's the internal structure. Yeah.
Interesting. That sounds really nice.
And then I see like pictures on Instagram and I'm like, people have these it's just like, man, that looks so nice. Looks so comfortable.
I'm going to Bali in a few weeks and I'm staying at a place just like that. Like as you were explaining it, I was like, awesome. It's got a little like sunken couch. Like I'll send it to you. It can be like your inspo.
Well,
you can slap it on the vision board.
Like I've lived in Thailand. It's a little bit further away from Australia, but I think Bali would be like too. Like it's still close to Australia. It's still close to see family all the time. It's very easy, like it's not an expensive flight or anything. But there is the opportunity to build very, a lot cheaper than Australia. So like, yeah, maybe.
Could be. Nice. All right.
Yeah. So that's me. Did we already did yours, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. Those are some good goals. I reckon this year's going to be really good for us. We'll do some cool things this year.
Excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Lots of travel, lots of shows. Oh, and I put up, actually, the other thing was no pressure. I wanted one of my athletes to qualify for Olympia. So, yeah.
Which
So,
who?
someone, someone, someone needs to. So, yeah,
Someone needs to take on take on this.
that's it.
Look, I will give you my utmost promise that I will try.
Well, then we'll try.
I
Yeah.
will try.
Well,
No guarantees, but I can
that's all it
guarantee I
is.
will try.
I mean, it's tough to set goals that don't really involve your. It's got nothing really to do with me. It's just I'm a part of it.
Mm.
But it's all part of the vision. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Exciting. All right. We'll see.
Yeah, good goals, good year. Hopefully that's useful for anyone. I mean, we didn't really want to make this an educational thing about like, you're going to do this with this and the set goals this way and whatever. I think that is useful, but I just don't feel useful in that way. So I think hopefully you guys got some inspiration to not be afraid to like think about things you want as well. Like there's nothing wrong with being materialistic and there's nothing wrong with being not materialistic. I think, you don't even have to be very sure about it. It's just like you've got to have a clear vision of what it is. And even if you're not sure how to achieve it, you just got to know what it is that you want. Because once it's something that you want, it'll fall into place. You'll figure it out. You'll just constantly thinking about it. You won't stop until you achieve it.
That's right. Yeah. Facts.
All right, guys. That's it for now. We'll see you on the next episode. And of course, as always, please drop a like, subscribe, comment, share to the story, tag us. If you have questions, reach out, and we'll be happy to help.
Bye.
Talk soon. See you guys.